OLABISI ONABANJO University Muslim Alumni. I'd like to welcome all members and all our invitees to the 28th in the series of the annual open lecture of the association. The annual open lecture is a yearly program of the association, which is usually held during the month of Ramadan. You observe that many people in the community will call it Ramadan lecture, no problem. But we decided to call our own annual open lecture, even though it is held during the month of Ramadan. So this is the 28th in the series. The university is 40 years old. And this program is 20 years old at AGBOOLA. The university is 20 years old, but it's 40 years old. But this program is 20 years old at Alhamdulillah. Before we commence, I'd like to invite the Chief Imam of OLABISI ONABANJO University to give us the opening prayer. Before we start anything at all, we must start with a prayer. The Chief Imam is Dr. ABDULAKEEM AKANNI. You are welcome.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I welcome everybody to this program. Let us pray. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahil aliyyil azim. Oh Allah, we thank you for bringing us this far. The last 20 years that this program has commenced. That everyone that has come to attend this program will get back to his or her destination safely. We pray that you make us see the end of the month of Ramadan, and that all our acts of ibadah be accepted by you. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Alhamdulillah, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for bringing us safely for this particular open lecture in the series for the OLABISI ONABANJO University Muslim Alumni. I thank the Chief Imam for the university for the opening prayer. A quick one. My name is Dosumu Suleiman Adeite. I'm a pharmacist. I'm a graduate of pharmacy. I graduated from the Faculty of Pharmacy of this great university in the year 2000. We happen to be one of the first set of pharmacists being produced by this great citadel of learning. Thank you so much, sir. Having taken the opening prayer, on our order of program, what is next is to take the reading from the glorious Quran. And it's an honor and privilege to call on our brother, Brother ABDULAKEEM to please come and do this particular part of the program. ABDULAKEEM.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذ قال ربك للملائكة إني خالق بشرا من طين وإذا سويتموه ونفختم فيه من روحي وقعوا له ساجدين وسجد الملائكة كلهم أجمعون إلا إبليس استكبر وكان من الكافرين. قال يا إبليس ما منعك أن تسجد لمن خلقت بيدي أستكبرت أم كنت من العالين؟ قال أنا خير منه خلقتني من نار وخلقته من طين. قال فاخرج منها فإنك رجيم وإن عليك لعنتي إلى يوم الدين. قال رب فانظرني إلى يوم يبعثون. قال فإنك من المنذرين إلى يوم الوقت المعلوم. قال فبعزتك لأغوينكم أجمعين إلا عبادك منهم المخلصين. قال فالحق والحق أقول لأملأن جهنم منك وممن تبعك منهم أجمعين. قل ما أسألكم عليه من أجر وما أنا من المتكلفين إن هو إلا ذكر للعالمين ولتعلمن نبعه بعد حين.
Jazakumullah khairan. We thank our brother for that wonderful recitation from the glorious Quran. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. When we jumpstart the program, there are portions that we've deliberately left out, awaiting the arrival of more of our guests. But inshallah, with Allah, I will call on Dr. Ibrahim Odusanya to take the item number 2 on the order of program, which is invitation of guests. They are already seated, so we'll be doing the introduction of guests that are on the high table. I'll call on Dr. Ibrahim Odusanya to please do that. Jazakumullah khairan.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My assignment is very simple. So I will start with the chairman of today's occasion, who is also an alumnus of this institution, in person of ALHAJI DAUDA GIWA of Nigeria Postal Service. You are welcome to our midst. Ategbir. Also, we have the Vice-Chancellor of this institution as our special guest of honor today. We are still awaiting his arrival in person of Professor AYODEJI Johnson or AGBOOLA. So when he comes, inshallah, we introduce him properly. So the Vice-Chancellor of the institution today is also an alumnus, and he has been supporting the Muslim community even prior to his appointment as the Vice-Chancellor. He was the immediate past DVC, Deputy Vice-Chancellor academic of this institution. Then also we have on that list of dignitaries the person of ALHAJI Said Fago, who is supposed to be the distinguished guest of honor for today's occasion. He is also an alumnus and also a great philanthropist. He has been contributing immensely to the development of the Muslim community. And I know presently he's also putting up a structure on this campus that will accommodate not less than 750 students for lecture. So when it comes to introduce him. Then we have on the high table seated our father in Islam, our teacher, an erudite professor of economics. He is a person of Professor Sheridin Adewale Teller. Ategbir. So he's the father of the day. Then seated on the high table will have our spiritual head in the Muslim community in this institution, also an alumnus of this great institution, Dr. ABDULAKEEM Adisa AKANNI of the Department of Religious Studies. You are welcome to our midst. Then, as our guest of honor, we have two of the guests of honor. The boss of this institution, Mr. Abdulsalim FCA, is on his way. So the boss is also an alumnus of this institution. Then, as one of the guests too, we have the royal father of the day, the OOUMA of Ago-Iwoye, Oba Abdulrazak Adesina Adenuga. So we know very soon ABDULAKEEM will be joining us. So we will all be wondering that this introduction is not complete, that at least someone is still on the high table that I have not introduced. And if he's not here, because we are here for a lecture. So even if all the guests are seated, the next question will be, who is the guest lecturer? Our guest lecturer is also a renowned professor from the University of Ibadan. The first and the best. That is and those in Ife, those ones will tell us Ife is the upper university, upper university. So, but what we know, at least when you talk about the first, nobody can contest that. UI is the first in terms of being the first ivory tower in this country, formerly known as the University College. Okay, and the mom is telling me that our guest lecturer is also an alumnus of University of Ibadan, in person of Professor Ibrahim Olatunde Usman from the Department of Arabic and Islamic Studies of the University of Ibadan. This morning when I called him, immediately told me at Alumni at Ago-Iwoye. So Alhamdulillah. And I said, Allah showing the video. So Alhamdulillah, Allah ti gba àdúrà wa. Allah ti yóò bá showing the video láyọ̀ àlàáfíà. Allah bá yín àkàṣẹ́ àlàáfíà. Ẹ̀sìn tó alẹ́ pẹ̀lú dáadáa. So I think for now I've completed the assignments given to me. Okay. The president will have to pardon me. Who is the chief host? The president of the OLABISI Investment Alumni, also an alumnus, definitely be an alumnus, because he is the president of the Muslim Alumni of the university, in person of Professor Nuruddin Idowu Oshinoga. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And before I give the mic to Thomas Sumo, we observe that the arrival of our members is a bit late. There was a bit of confusion this morning because we were being told that today is sanitation, that last Saturday. So those from Ago-Iwoye, they were waiting that they cannot move until it is 10 o'clock. So, and that was the impression created, and that created some confusion. So, but inshallah, I know they are already on the way. Members from Lagos, from Ibadan, and from Ago-Iwoye, we pray that Allah give them, grant them Johnny mercy. And so I will hand over the mic to to Pharmacist Dosumo. And I would also like to invite our brother. He is also here. He will be joining Pharmacist Dosumo here for this assignment. He does the assignment for the university community and is an alumnus of this institution in person of Doctor in the making, Brother Musliuddin Adewale Balogun. So you can call him. This is what you know to do best. Is that has been part and parcel of you. I could say maybe on monthly basis, you do that for the university. So please come over here. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. I welcome the co-anchor for this particular event. We call him Balu while we're in school. So Balu, you're welcome, sir. I would like to call on Barrister Musliuddin Kaka. Musliuddin Kaka, I'm so sorry. Please pardon the network. Thank you so much. So, Barrister Musliuddin Kaka, can you please join them on the high table? Thank you. Then equally on the high table that was not introduced is our Baba. It's a past president of the OOUMA Muslim Alumni. Is the first. So he is the premier president of the Muslim alumni of this great scandal of learning. It's an honor to introduce Professor Mustapha Olalekan Arikewuyo. Wa alaikum salam. So equally joining us on the high table, we have Dr. Abdulrahman Akibode. Is equally a past, immediate past, national president of the Muslim Alumni. You're welcome, sir. So inshallah, Bikuratullah, what is next on the program, on the order of program, is to take the welcome address from the president. From the president OLABISI and ONABANJO University Muslim Alumni. It's an honor and privilege to bring to the podium Professor Nuruddin Idowu Oshinuga to give his welcome address. Thank you.
صلوا على النبي الكريم. الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. The chairman of the occasion, ALHAJI DAUDA Muhammad GIWA, the special guest of honor, Professor AYODEJI, O. Johnson AGBOOLA, Vice-Chancellor, OOU, in absentia. Distinguished guest of honor, Captain Sahib Bago, we are still expecting him. The Royal Father of the Day, Kabiyesi, His Royal Highness, Oba Abdulakheem Adenuga, Ibumawe of Ago-Iwoye. Father of the Day, my teacher, Professor Sherif Bitela, and the guest lecturer, Professor Ibrahim Utman, and spiritual father of the day, our own Dr. ABDULAKEEM AKANNI, Chief Imam, OOU Muslim Community. Our guest of honors, ALHAJI Semiu Bakinde, the Bossa, OOU, and Professor Mikhail Lasu Gadabashi, the chairman, OOU Muslim Community, and other invited guests, the chairman and members of the organizing committee, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters in Islam, I greet you all with the best greeting from Allah by saying, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All thanks, praises, and adoration belong to Almighty Allah, who out of His infinite mercy has made it possible for members of this association to come together for another annual Open Ramadan lecture, the 20th in the series. May the peace and blessing of Almighty Allah be upon noble Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his companion, his household, and those who follow him to the day of resurrection. Amen. Let me start this address with appreciation to the past executive led by Dr. Ago-Iwoye, the chairman and members of Shura Committee for their commitment, sacrifice, and selfless services to the association. You will recall that the present administration started on a careful note with the COVID-19 pandemic ravaging the world, the global challenge of coronavirus that has crippled the economic activities did not spare the association. But when reality dawned on us, we had no choice than to face the challenge and commence activities, because we are pledged to Almighty Allah that we will serve humanity and we must achieve. Let me highlight few achievements of the association objective recorded during the COVID-19 pandemic. Prominent among them, we did not allow COVID-19 to stop us. Our annual Ramadan lecture, we had it, though virtually, and we brought one of our eminent professors from Lesson Ibadan. Active participation in welfare programs of members and eminent moves in the community, support of Abuja and diaspora branches, though still in embryo. Yes, we are working on Abuja and the diaspora branches. Inshallah, we hope it will soon come fruitful throughout life. Cordial and address relationship maintained with Muslim Student Society of Nigeria, OOU branch, and also intensifying efforts on the occasional scholarship scheme and fund donation. Our vision, another journey of 2 years has started and almost coming to an end. I want to enjoy the coming executive members as we have been doing before to brace up to the challenges and continue sacrificing and making women grow to greater heights. Welfare of our members, at anywhere they may be, good foundation for Abuja diaspora branches as it is for existing one. Inshallah, at the moment we have 3 active branches: Oyo, Lagos, and Ogun State. The Abuja, we have gone quite a bit, not really, it's fortunate really. Our contact person also has stepped up. He is now abroad for his PhD program, and alhamdulillah we are making a move as well. Maintenance of the vibrant and sustainable scholarship scheme without waiting period, and I believe with strategic plan the achievement of their work mission is guaranteed. I will encourage us to work as a team and sacrifice our time and energy in this valuable cause. Scholarship skill. This is one of the skills I met and I've been following closely as well. In a bid to better the lot of Indian Muslim students, the association has inspired for by encouraging individuals and groups to contribute to the maintenance of scholarship skill. Since its inception, we have been enjoying positive response from our Islamic leaders and members. At this junction, I would like to acknowledge an anonymous donor and alumnus who single-handedly donated the sum of 2 million to the scheme in 2015-16. And you can see from that my address, the 2015-16 seems to be the most significant. The number of beneficiaries for that year was 41. And the Alhamdulillah, we have not been resting on our here. The beneficiaries so far are listed over a decade and 2 decades. You can see 2007, 2018, 2007, 2008, up to 2020 and 2021. And inshallah, we are still moving on. May I use this video to call on our guests and philanthropy for more generous donation to this laudable scheme. We can pay our donation into the scholarship account below, as you can see. I beseech Almighty Allah to reward you all abundantly. Amen. The membership drive. Well, it is always good we have to deal on this. On a lighter mood, I want to appeal to active participation of members present and essential in our program at both national and branch level. The National Executive Committee is making practical effort to ensure that session functions very well at the state and local level to continue to harness the benefit of coming together as it serves as a means to develop our faith. Well, the membership drive, well, it is still relatively at an average level. There's no doubt the economic challenge is actually affecting everybody. But we thank Almighty Allah and the support and the great immense class they really worth my kudos. The theme of today's lecture is Islam and good governance. It's not only topical, but it's a main issue given governmental challenges in contemporary Nigeria, where election has come and gone. I want to visit all of Almighty Allah to give all those acclaimed winners to grant them the wisdom to assist us in actually shaping this country in the way Almighty Allah, the way it pleases Almighty Allah. But when it pleases Almighty Allah, inshallah, all of us will enjoy. We Almighty make it so. Let me not preempt our resource person. I believe our erudite guest speaker, Professor Ibrahim Othman, will do justice to the topic. We heartily welcome ALHAJI DAUDA Muhammad GIWA, the chairman of the occasion, likewise Captain Said Fago and alumnus into our midst in absentia. Also, I want to express special gratitude to the Vice-Chancellor in absentia, though he is being represented by the bossa and we are waiting bossa too. Likewise, the power of Ago-Iwoye, Oba Razak Adenuga. Baba has always been with us. In fact, I have lost count since day one. The people of Ago-Iwoye always associate with us. And I think last year, when Baba could not come around, he sent a representative. So we are writing another precise him for us. Professor Sherifin Tela and other dignitaries for honoring our invitation. I appreciate the presence of everybody joining us today, despite your tight schedule. There is hardly anybody that doesn't have one or two things to do. In fact, it's cashless, even making the present situation so tough. Yes, for those of us who are here, I want to thank you. May Allah honor you and reward you immensely. I'm indebted to those who contributed to the success of today's event, while counting on our continued moral and financial support to the activities of the association. Your reward definitely is not only on this earth, but also in the hereafter in manifold. Thank you very much.
Takbir. 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 I'm not sure the appreciation we give to Almighty Allah is enough to look at the content of the messages delivered by our distinguished President of OOUMA. Takbir. If you listen very well, you will appreciate it or agree with me that the speech from the President is not only exhaustive, but it actually represents the interest of every one of us in the association. Am I talking sense? Takbir. Our prayer is just that Almighty Allah will continue to guide you, protect you, and be with you in the course of chairing the chief of this very association, noble association. Takbir. Just to inform you that the OOUMA is one of the associations of alumni of this great university that is very well recognized at the level of our institution. I want to tell you that maybe when the Vice-Chancellor comes, he will say one or two things regarding the image of OOU alumni before the university management. Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, firstly let me register my sincere apology for coming in behind schedule. It's not that I came in behind schedule, but the organizer didn't tell me I'll be part of the thing. The Vice-Chancellor in the next 5 minutes or 10 will join us in this course. It is therefore a very big honor for me to now invite a distinguished alumnus of this great university, just like my Dr. Usai has already mentioned, not a distinguished alumnus of this great university, but of course, a distinguished personality from our midst. Thank you very much. Takbir. Ẹ má bínú pé mo sọ Yorùbá, àfáà sọ̀rọ̀ òjòkùn, ó ní Ọlọ́run jẹ́rìí o. Takbir. Takbir. That is the Vice-Chancellor of this great university, Professor Ayodeji Olayinka Johnson AGBOOLA. You know one thing that is very funny, distinguished alumni of OOU, the former Deputy Vice-Chancellor of this great university and currently the Vice-Chancellor of OLABISI University said he's part of OOUMA. And what he did was that, knowingly or unknowingly, the name he adopted coincides with that of our President, Nuruddin. You know, that is very wonderful. So whenever you want to address our Vice-Chancellor and that identity of Nuruddin is not there, I will tell you, no, it's not complete. Because any program we want to do or we are organizing in the Muslim community, we always make itself available. Takbir. The Vice-Chancellor, you are most welcome, sir. So like I was saying before the arrival of the Vice-Chancellor of this great university, I have the singular honor of now inviting the chairman of today's occasion. Like I mentioned earlier, a distinguished alumnus, and of course, a philanthropist of note, ALHAJI DAUDA Muhammad GIWA of the Nigerian Customs Service to please step forward and give his opening speech. Takbir! Takbir!
I think let me stand on the existing protocol. The President has given both the welcome address and the speech together, so we don't have to wait much time. But all the same, we all know these days how schedules are, like we that live outside here. But there are some occasions that we call on you, even if you are not the chairman, that you will turn down. Because OOU, the benefit I got here, even if they want me 2 a.m. in the night, I believe I will be here. Because I came here, I did my BSc, I did my MSc, I got a plot to build an hostel which is ongoing inside the school. With this alone, I don't think there's another thing I need from them. It's just unfortunate I I've not met the Vice-Chancellor, the new one now, but I think the past two we met. I will stick on, sir. Thank you, sir. But without wasting much of your time, I think this is a body that has been in existence. We'll be here, we'll be participating spiritually, not too much, but we'll be hitting the way we think we can. But today, I think Dr. Ago-Iwoye were able to call on me, and there's no way I will not. I will have another meeting by 1:30 today in Lagos. But I see I must be here today. So, we are very pleased to be able to welcome those of you that have been with us for a long time, physically and spiritually, as well as those who are new to this, our noble body. This body has been in existence. I know a lot of people are here, they are not members. But these are kind of occasions that you don't have to. A body you just have to belong to. It's not taskful, but you are coming there to learn that you don't know. Thank you. Today marks the 20th auspicious annual open lectures of this body. We are proud to be able to host it today here at this wonderful place with all of you. It is my pleasure to extend a cheerful welcome to you all. Your presence makes the occasion glow. We sincerely glorify Allah for making it possible to be here, because it is the will of Allah to make things possible. These are the type of gatherings recommended for Muslims to attend, where the religion, Islam, is propagated, a lot of lessons learned, and a better understanding of the religion is discussed. I don't have to say much. I think with these 3 words, you understand the reason why we are supposed to be here, and we are here. For those that are here to come, may God guide us safely to this place. I know we are going to benefit more because our erudite guest lecturer is already warming up to load us with a lot of stuff. Without taking much of your time, we'll quickly delve into the business of today by giving a chance to the erudite guest lecturer. Thank you. You are welcome.
Takbir. Takbir. You know, when I was about to introduce the chairman of today's occasion, I was short of words. I only knew him as an alumnus of this great university. But something just told me in my mind that this man must be, this distinguished personality must be a philanthropist. Well, I didn't know. But when he now mentioned that he has done this and done that, I had to appreciate Allah for giving me that inspiration. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please continue to reach out to alumni of this university. Wallahi, we are blessed within and outside this country with the gesture from the current Vice-Chancellor of this great university. I'm very sure, and I'm equally reassuring you that we will discover a lot of them within and outside this country who are equally Muslims that will be of great or immense benefit to this very association. The Vice-Chancellor has started that this time around, giving a searchlight on alumni of this great university who will in turn look back in what we call homecoming for collective responsibility in the course of raising this standard of learning to greater heights. Unfortunately today, we have discovered one of them who will probably be a link to others in that category. Am I not communicating? Am I communicating? So it is very clear now that the journey has started. May Allah continue to be with us. It is now my pleasure to now invite the headman of this great university, the former Deputy Vice-Chancellor of OLABISI ONABANJO University, academic to be specific, an associate of OOU Muslim community. I want to assure you or let you know that in the last 4 or 5 years, the former Deputy Vice-Chancellor academic and now the Vice-Chancellor of OLABISI ONABANJO University, has been a financial member of OOUMA Muslim community. Not in the last 3 or 4 years, and he has been doing that on monthly basis. Again, and I want to tell you again, without any, with highest level of modesty, that the Vice-Chancellor is, apart from being a Christian, has never hidden his, what do I call it now? Continue to identify with the OOU Muslim community in making sure that any program the Muslim community is embarking on, he wants to, and he has been a very good participant in that category. Thank you very much. So on this note, I now want to invite Professor AYODEJI Olayinka Johnson, and of course, AGBOOLA to come forward and give the speech to us. Thank you. Those of us in the Muslim community will not be surprised with that kind of thing. Thank you very much. Takbir. You see why I said it's good thing? You will hear that later. Thank you very much. You're welcome.
The chairman, the distinguished personality, the high table, permit me to adopt the existing protocol, but I won't single out my leader, who is also on the high table here, Professor, we all know him, Professor S. We thank God that we are having this lecture. I'm always happy when we have a leaders body bring all this for younger ones, not for them now. So the younger ones are those that we are still mentoring to be a good leader in the society. In the university, we award the people in terms of learning and character. I always tell people, once the character is lost, even the degree you have is zero. Because your character will determine the type of person you are. And if you don't have that character, nobody will ask you how good you are with that work. And I believe that the Muslim community has been an epitome of integrity and moral compass that we have in the university. And I'm very, very happy to be associated with all the programs that are made, because even when I joined the system, the few people that I know as my leaders are people that are mentoring here, Professor Taylor, our emeritus professor, Professor AYODEJI. I didn't do anything without consulting them. And I'm happy that they've done beautifully well for me. And maybe that is why I got married to Anna to life. Because one of the things that I've learned from her is this love that is always shown to everybody in that family. In fact, to the extent that my family does not want to talk to me except to see her. And I'm very sure that they use this word in Yoruba, which my mom used to tell at that time. AGBOOLA OOUMA. So I kept on asking myself, what is the meaning of AGBOOLA OOUMA? So one day, I now call ALHAJI, which is able to be a mom. ALHAJI, ìyá mi máa ń sọ pé AGBOOLA OOUMA kí ni ìtumọ̀ ẹ̀? ALHAJI ní dúpẹ́ fọ́lọ́ ọmọdé òdòdó jì mí. ALHAJI kí ni ìtumọ̀ ẹ̀? Ìwé àtọ̀lásọ ọ̀tọ̀lẹ́lẹ́ ìtẹ́tù sọ yìí. But till today, is that my wife that taught us how to fast in the house. She always fast on Mondays and on Thursdays. And then she forced all of us to adopt that time, since we should not go to cook. So we're going to eat. And so and she always wake up in the morning and do a prayer. And so since I'm not used to that, what they are not going to come, you have to teach me what you are doing. So don't worry yourself. What would mean is just, when I'm doing my prayer, you can also be doing your prayer there. And I don't know how, what I thought we also do everything. But what I learned from her is that this is so easy for her that she can do it virtually every day. And I will see her sitting down on her mat for about 2-3 hours in the middle of the night. And she will do that from 2 o'clock down to 3 a.m., then down to 5 a.m., and then she will do the prayer. And then if it's on Monday, I know that there's no food for us in the house. And on Thursday, and shall put all those things in those children. So I believe that, because I actually interviewed her myself, she said what is important, it's not about her anymore. It's about the children and the people that surround her, so that they will know that that is not the way Allah is. Allah is the one that has been doing everything for us in this house. And we should also appreciate him all the time. And thank God that this year we are witnessing it. And for years to come, God will always allow us also do another one. And I want to assure all of us, once I'm still alive, I will attend all the program till I finish my tenure in this place. And so I wish all the best. And at the end of this Ramadan, all our prayers, God will answer it. And our children that are also here, please continue to emulate what our elders are doing, and also part of them now that I know very well that this is what they're supposed to do. So that they cannot go to school now and go and learn how to recite the Quran, because I love what she's been doing in the house every day. And she doesn't hide it. And that's what I like about her. She doesn't hide her feelings. She will read the Quran all the time. And the last one, Surah, which a lot of you will know, is in Ayodiji. And that one, maybe I have taught all my children how to recite. Because every time Surah is around, all of them pray together. And I'll just be laughing at gradually we are taking all the children away. Well, we thank God for what we are doing today, and Allah will accept all our prayers.
Takbir. Takbir. In the words of our eminent professor, we always say, àwa kan sára sọ́dọ̀run ọba, àwa kan sára sọ́dọ̀run ọba, ọba tí ò dójú àdúrà tiwa, ọba tí ò dójú àdúrà tiwa o, àwa kan sára sọ́dọ̀run ọba. In fact, this is highly highlighted, hearing from the Vice-Chancellor of this great university, emphasizing the significance of Tajud, fasting, and other fundamentals of Islam. Takbir! Takbir! Apart from being a very good challenge to those of us who are Muslim brothers, our sisters and our mothers are being gingered up today to make sure they equally continue. Those that have been doing and those that are still weak in that direction should borrow it from that. Takbir! So, Vice-Chancellor, we appreciate you, sir. The chairman of today's session, other distinguished personalities at the table, members of OU Muslim alumni, other invited guests, our students here present, all other protocol duly observed. Takbir! Now we have come to the main program of today. It's now time for us to listening to the spiritual diet from our distinct personality from the University of Ibadan. To do this, the introduction of the personality is my yoga, Dr. Ago-Iwoye Ibrahim Odusoye. Thank you. Thank you. My yoga, you do the citation of our lecturer for today. Thank you.
I have the honor of presenting the citation of our guest lecturer today in person of Professor Ibrahim Olatunde Usman. So we share the same name. So inshallah I also become a professor. So I want you to rise while I present the citation. The CV is intimidating, but I will have to summarize. And so because we have to know our personality of today, very guest lecturer. So Professor Ibrahim Olatunde had his education at the University of Ibadan, University of Education at the University of Ibadan between 1988 and 1994, when he got his fourth degree, which is the BA Education in Islamic Studies. Then he was also at Obafemi University, Ile-Ife, between 1997 and 2001, where he had his master's program, and he had his PhD from International Islamic University, Malaysia, in 2006. Professor Ibrahim Usman had participated in a lot of international conferences, and part of it I'll just go through. He was at the international conference held the one he attended within the Conference of Nigeria, the international conference on Arabic and Islamic cultural studies in 2002. He was chairman planning committee international conference on Islamic and modernity organized by the Department of Arabic and Islamic Studies at the Dominican Institute in 2012, and he also held several positions in the University of Ibadan. Part of the position held was the postgraduate coordinator of the Department of Arabic and Islamic Studies between 2008 and 2012. He was also the member of the panel of Senior Staff Disciplinary Committee, University of Ibadan. He was assistant warden of the institution between March 2013 and March 2027, and he acted as the warden of Sultan Bello Hall, UI, between July 2016 and March 2017. He was also an editor and manager of a number of reputable journals. Part of it we have the Al-Fikri Journal of Arabic and Islamic Studies, and he served as business manager between 2007 and 2016, and was member of the editorial board of this reputable journal till date. He was also associate editor of the International Journal of Religion and Spirituality Society. He is also a reviewer for a number of journals. Part of them we have the Insights, Al-Fikri Journal of the Arabic and Islamic Studies, Al-Hadara, last Journal of Arabic and Islamic Studies. He has also supervised a number of PhD and master students in Nigeria, as well as the Goma University, Dera Ismail Khan, Pakistan. He has also served as external examiner to a number of universities. Professor Ibrahim Usman has been participated very well in academic activities, not only in University of Ibadan, and are also in a number of universities in Malaysia, in Iran, South Africa, USA, Ghana, and has published several articles as well as a number of chapters in books. I also had to inherit a number of conference proceedings from different conferences he has attended. We have here a person of distinct academic qualities in terms of publications. We have participating in a number of journal publications with colleagues within and outside the university. We have a list of them, which I've just go through few of them. The Journal of Oriental and African Study, if a Journal of Religion, if a Journal of Humanities, American Journal of Islamic Social Sciences, Islamic Studies Journal, Insights, Islamic Quarterly, and Intellectual Discourse, among many other journals. Join me in welcoming our distinguished academic who has achieved a lot of feats in his chosen field, the person of Professor Ibrahim Uthman, who we have invited to give this special lecture, what is coinciding with the 28th in the series of our open lecture. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, alladhi razaka man tawakkala alayhi kama yarzuqu at-tayra tabdu khamasan wa taruhu batana. Wassalatu wassalamu ala khayri khalqillah al-mab'uth rahmatan lil alamin sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu al-qahir innama bu'istu bil anafiyya as-sam'a salawatullahi wa salamuhu atammani al-akmalani alayhi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa ala kulli man kana fi qalbihi misqala dharratin min iman wa ihsan ila yawmi yub'athun. Amma ba'd, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The chairman of today's occasion, ALHAJI Muhammad GIWA, you will permit me to join all those who have preceded me by allowing me to stand on the protocol already established by our eminent scholar, the president of OOU Muslim Alumni. But with that as it may, you will also allow me to specially recognize and salute at least 3 personalities here, because I have no choice but to just do that. The very first person I want to recognize and salute is no other person than the Vice-Chancellor of this great university, Professor AYODEJI Johnson Ago-Iwoye. It's indeed an honor for me to meet him. If we listen to him carefully, one of the things that should come to our mind is that our VC has just exhibited one of the unique traits of the interface between different faiths that we see, especially in Yoruba land. It is very difficult for you in Yoruba land to find an household where there is no Muslim and where there is no Christian. In my own family, my immediate younger sister from the same father, from the same mother, her name is Imam, but today she's a pastoress. And you'll be shocked if I tell you that I actually conducted a marriage to a pastor. So this is one of the uniqueness of this region, and we thank you for your presence. May Allah continue to support you. The second person I have to, as a matter of obligation, recognize as this city is no other person than the father of the day, our teacher, Professor Sherif Taylor. It's an honor meeting you, sir. Here
is an academic that is established. And not only that, but he has the time to mentor the young ones. I'm happy to tell this audience that Professor Taylor was a mentor to my second half. And when people always ask her, why is your career so rapid? She always say, thank you, Professor Taylor. I'm talking of Professor Ganiat Adesina Usman. We are lucky of you to be with you, sir. The third person I want to recognize, even though he's not presently seated, but I must recognize him, again, as I said, as a matter of obligation. And that is no other person than Professor Emeritus, Professor Kamaldeen Balogun. I'm sure there is nobody here who does not know him. Not because he was just the immediate past imam of this university, but most importantly, that he was a father to everybody. When I became a senior lecturer, my promotion would have been announced, but for Professor Kamaldeen Balogun. He was one of those who assessed me, but the university never knew that my papers were not sent out, and he never got them. But the VC just met him one day and said, why are you delaying the assessment of our Imam? I was then at Crescent University. And Professor Kamaldeen said, I've not seen anything from your university. And so the VC had to call those concerned. And immediately he got the papers. Because of the antecedent, he decided to complete the assessment in record time. I was around when he came to submit the report by himself. And somebody met him and was asking him, Prof, why are you holding yourself? You have sent for us. He said, because I know you people. You will not let the report to appear again. That is why I wrote it myself. So I will continue to pray for him and cherish him. And he has been very, very helpful. Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I said I was going to salute 3 people. But let me add 2 other people. And I will tell you why. I want to specially recognize the president of OOU Alumni. It's nice meeting you. I have here my Oga, my Sheikh, he's my pilot, he's in charge of my affairs. My wife called him my PA because they have to see him before they see me at times. When I told him we are going to leave Ibadan unfailingly, 9 o'clock this morning, he said, Oga, you want us to come and start sitting here again? These people will not come at 11. So when we got here, he said, did I not tell you? Unfortunately, the first person we met, unfortunately, was Professor Nobodin Osinuga. So I want every one of us to emulate him. Like I said jokingly, if we say something is 11 o'clock, let it be 11 o'clock, even if it's only 2 people seated. I want to say, and you will see it again in my lecture, one of the reasons why we are having developmental challenges in Nigeria is because we are a nation who does not keep to time. And one of the indices of development and good governance is to be time conscious. If you waste so much time, you will waste a lot of opportunity for development. Lastly, I want to recognize a very senior colleague, an accomplished academic of this university, and a distinguished scholar of Arabic and Islamic studies in this country as well as abroad. I'm talking of no other person than the chief imam of this university. The Vice-Chancellor will permit me and indulge me to say Professor Akeem Akonu. And I'm sure that very soon the professorship will be formally announced. I'm saying this because if you look at the trajectory of our academic careers, you will discover that it is almost the same. We started together over 30 years ago when we met at College of Education, the and from then till now, our trajectory has almost been the same. When my professorship was announced in December last year, the professorship that was supposed to be 2016, that was eventually 2019. In fact, professors of the University of Ibadan were just calling me that we thank God for your life that you are alive to get this. And I pray that you also be alive to get this announcement. Without taking much of our time, like the president of our alumni has told us, I believe it is only the deaf and the blind that will not know that in Nigeria today we are having serious developmental challenges. And it has been like that for a long time, but particularly since our return to democracy in 1999. You see, when the military made an incursion into politics in 1966, people who are alive then and who are old enough here felt that Nigeria was doing bad, that things were not going well, and the politicians were not doing well. But with insight, we all know today that that was one of the greatest mistakes we made in this country. Because if you look at the decades of military rule, and since our return to democracy in 1999, you ask the question, what have we benefited from the military coup of 1966 in terms of good governance? When this incumbent administration took over almost 8 years ago, there were a lot of lamentations and stories about the state of decadence of our governance in Nigeria. But I'm sure you will agree with me that almost 8 years after their intervention, it is like Nigeria has not moved forward. Despite some concrete initiatives and steps that have been taken by this administration, especially in terms of infrastructural development. I'm sure nobody will dispute that. At the same time, as we are talking today, our roads are still death traps. Even as we are talking now, even with the investment we have made in rail transportation, a lot of Nigerians today are still afraid to travel by rail, courtesy of insecurity, kidnapping, and what have you. Today, as we are seated here, we know that our institutions of learning, right from the primary school to the university, are still in a state of comatose. That today, Nigerian students in their institutions are in school. I want to tell you, it's not because the tertiary education is okay. It is because the federal government of Nigeria was able to get what I will call a piece of the graveyard. No nation can ever develop, and that is the problem we are having in terms of our economic growth, without knowledge. In the world today, we talk about knowledge economy. It is not the amount of resources that a nation can boast of that make a nation to be one of the giants in the community of nations, but it is what you can do with what you have in terms of science and technology, in terms of application. It is what you are able to bring to the global market that will determine the level of your economic achievement. But I want to tell you that we should always be cautious when we start listing all the problems Nigeria is facing. The reason is that even the so-called developed nations, the superpowers, they are also not free. Even as we are talking now, banks are collapsing in the United States of America. A lot of countries in Europe now cannot pay salaries. They even find it difficult to feed their people. So the question is, how can the countries of this world get their governance right such that in Nigerian parlance they can be able to give to their people what we call the dividends of democracy? And I think, like the president of our alumni also said in his speech, this lecture cannot come at a better time. The simple reason is that Nigeria has just concluded its general elections. As we are talking now, we have a president-elect. We have governors-elect in many states. We have councillors, chairmen. The question that should be going through their mind now is not how to share the resources of this nation, but instead what will be uppermost in their mind is how are they going to be able to assuage the anger of the teeming population of Nigerian youth. Like our president-elect, Ago-Iwoye has rightly said, the youth of this nation, they have spoken out loudly. They are not happy. And they should not be happy. Except they are fools. Nigerian youth should not be happy that they have a government that can spend billions, trillions on elections, but cannot spend on their education. Nigerian youth should not be happy that they have leaders who can go for treatment outside the country, but yet the hospitals at home cannot even take care of ordinary malaria. So the youth have spoken out loudly, and I think one of the lessons of this election is how do we get our governance right such that factors like ethnicity and religion will become a thing of the past. We have had enough of these dividing tools in the hands of politicians. If you look at the past election, it is very sad that some people in this century still campaign on the basis of whether somebody is a Muslim or somebody is a Christian, whether somebody is from the East or somebody is from the West. But we thank God that the result of the election as announced by INEC is not a reflection of ethnicity, and it is not a reflection of religion. It is actually a reflection of the fact that Nigerians in their majority are willing to take this country to the next level. So the question I want to answer in this lecture is how do we get our governance right from the Islamic perspective? In answering this question, I've decided to foreground this lecture in what is called the Maqasidu al-Sharia, or the 5 fundamental principles of the Sharia. Today, there is almost no Nigeria. Even in the world, there is almost nobody who has not heard about the Sharia, who doesn't know about the Sharia. But what people do not know about the Sharia is far, far more than what they know about the Sharia. One of the things a lot of us don't know about the Sharia is that when we talk about the Sharia, which can be loosely translated as Islamic law, it is built on 5 essentials. We call it ad-darurat al-khamsa, 5 necessities. It is believed by the Islamic law that without the preservation of these necessities, there is no basis for governance, there is no basis for a government. That if you have a government in place and that government cannot take care of these 5 matters, then those people have no business in government. And I want to read these 5 matters as explained by one of the greatest scholars of Islam, Abu Hamid Al-Ghazali, in his book Al-Mustasfa, when he says, فَمَقْصُودُ الشَّرْعِ مِنَ الْخَلْقِ خَمْسَةٍ وَهُوَ أَنْ يَحْفَظَ عَلَيْهِمْ دِينَهُمْ وَنَفْسَهُمْ وَنَسْلَهُمْ وَعَقْلَهُمْ وَمَالَهُمْ فَكُلُّ ما يتضمن حفظ هذه الأصول الخمسة فهو مصلحة وكل ما يفوت هذه الأصول فهو مفسدة ودفعها مصلحة. He says that the ultimate goals of the Sharia, the target of the Sharia is to achieve 5 essentials in respect of humanity. He said humanity, not Muslims. Wahua, and these 5 matters are what? And yahfadu alayhim dinahum. It is the preservation of religion. 2, preservation of life. Preservation naslahu, of posterity, the future generation of humanity. Wamalahu, preservation of wealth, which is the field of our father. He has written a lot and published a lot on how Nigeria can get out of its economic comatose. But our leaders throw all these researches into the gospel. And he says, I have skipped one, but aklahu, and their intellect. And he said, anything in life that promotes all these 5 things, as far as the Sharia is concerned, for our Muslim, that thing is public good. It is for the good of the whole of humanity. But whatever destroys these 5 essentials, that thing is mufsada. That thing is harmful. Wadafuha Muslim. And to remove anything that is harmful is public good as far as the Sharia is concerned. So if we look at these 5 matters as explained by Islamic scholars, we can come to the following conclusion. That in order for us to have good governance in any nation, in any country, but especially in Nigeria, there are about 7 or 8 indexes or benchmarks that we can use to measure whether a nation is actually on the path of economic, political, and socio-cultural development, or that nation is actually moving backward. The first and most fundamental of these 5 matters is what I call Ifsuddin wal Hayat, the preservation of religion and lives. It is very interesting. If you read the book of Usul, while Al-Ghazali and Ashatibi place religion first in the hierarchy, Fakhruddin Arazi, who came after Shafi'i, said no, Nafsu should come first. And none of them have their reasons. So Arazi, without life, a person can't be thinking about religion. It is when you are alive, when Allah says in the Quran, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, I have not created men and jinn except that they worship me. It is when you have been created, it is when you come into existence, it is then you can think about worshiping the person who has created you. So to Arazi and scholars like him, the preservation of life comes first before religion. But what is significant for us is that from the Islamic perspective of good governance, a government must be able to guarantee the security, the welfare of its people, as well as their freedom to practice their faith. So in any country, in any nation, where we play a politics of divide and rule in the name of religion or ethnicity, that politics, that governance is not in line with the basic teachings of Islam. And we all read the Quran. This is what you see throughout the Quran. Despite the fact that Allah has told us in the Quran, Inna Dina Inna Allah Islam, the religion that God loves so much is Islam. But this same Allah has also told us in the Quran, Quran chapter 6 verse 108, وَلَا تَسُبُّوا الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ فَيَسُبُّوا اللَّهَ عَدْوًا بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. Don't abuse the gods that people worship aside Allah. Allah is not even talking about Christianity or Judaism. He's talking about pure idolatry. Don't abuse their gods. Because when you abuse their gods, فَيَسُبُّوا they will also abuse Allah. And there will be enmity and you start fighting. So Allah is telling us that this religion, the purpose of the Sharia is to live and let others live. Is to practice your religion and let others practice their religion. So one of the indexes for us to measure good governance is to see the incoming administration ensure that all faiths are treated equally. All faiths are treated equally. I don't want to see any institution in Nigeria, any government parastatal, where a person will be allowed to worship there as a Muslim in a mosque, and another person will not be allowed to worship in the same institution, in the same parastatal as a Christian or even as an idolater. It is against the index of good governance from the Islamic perspective. The same thing goes for religious practice. I don't want to see a situation where a person will be denied a job, and the reason why that person is denied that job is because you are a Christian, it's because you are a Muslim, or the reason why you are denied admission is because you have hijab. That is against the benchmark of good governance. So we want a level playing ground for all people. Secondly, when we talk about the index of good governance from the Islamic perspective, from what we have listed, you know that the development of the human intellect is a basic requirement for the development of any nation. Any governance or administration that takes with levity the education, the acquisition of skills and knowledge by its people, especially the youth, that nation is doomed. It has no future. This is the reason why under the Islamic scheme of things, the acquisition of knowledge is not a choice. I don't know whether you understand me. In Islam, Muhammad ﷺ said, "Talabul ilmi faridatun ala kulli muslimin." The search for knowledge, the acquisition of knowledge, is an obligation on every Muslim. It doesn't matter whether you are a woman or you are a Christian. It doesn't matter whether you are a Muslim or you are a idolater. Once you are a human being, Islam teaches that one of the reasons why we have social unrest and all these crises we have is because we fail to educate people and train them. And one of the relevant verses of the Quran I always cite when I talk about this matter is Quran chapter Surah Al-An'am, Quran chapter 6, verse 140, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قَدْ خَسِرَ الَّذِينَ قَتَلُوا أَوْلَادَهُمْ سَفَهًا بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ وَهَرَّمُوا مَا رَزَقَهُمُ اللَّهُ. Allah said they are completely at a loss. They are in a state of bankruptcy. Why? Because they kill their children without knowledge, foolishly, claiming that their children are obstacles to their problem, to their development. So they kill them. And this is what is being promoted by a section of the economists, that our major problem is the problem of population explosion. So once you have family planning, you solve that problem. That is not correct. Because our major problem, especially in third world countries, is not the problem of population explosion. Our major problem is the problem of not having adequate planning for the future of this nation. That is our major problem. Every child that is born will remain a parasite as long as that child is not properly equipped. Once you train and give a child proper education, that child will eventually become an asset to a nation. And this is the position of Islam. That if we can properly manage our resources, as limited as they are, the sky cannot be the limit of our development from the Islamic perspective. Thirdly, when we talk about good governance from the angle of the Nokosu Sharia, then we understand again that as far as the Sharia is concerned, the plan for development is not just for Muslims. In fact, it is not just for this present generation. That is why we talk of Ifsu and Nasu. And this is where I agree totally with the hierarchy of Al-Ghazali and Ashatibi, because Al-Ghazali specifically talk about Nasu, while Fakharuddin talk about An-Nasab. That is because Fakharuddin mentioned Nasab. That is why many Muslim scholars, they translate this as protection of the family. Because Nasab is just talking about your own family. But Nasru is talking about the future generation, posterity. That our plan should always take into consideration how we ensure that the future unborn children will not suffer. That should be our goal. So it is about the totalistic welfare of humanity from our present generation till time eternity. There is a very, very important hadith of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that I think is important for us to note. Muslim said a lot of things about the day of judgment. These things comes under eschatology. One of the things Muhammad said about the day of judgment is that if as a Muslim you have a seed in your hand and you want to plant it, you have a seed in your hand, you want to plant it. He said the trumpet for day of judgment is blown. He said, do everything possible to plant that seed. Why is it necessary for a person to plant a seed when the world is about to come to an end? It is because in Islam, we must continue to work for our future as long as there is life in us. So forget about end time theories. If the world is going to end, let it end meeting us working for the future. That is the position of Islam. So any governance that will not take into consideration the future unborn children is a governance that can never succeed from the perspective of Islam. Again, another benchmark that I've mentioned is Ifsun Mal, the protection of wealth. The protection of wealth. And this is very, very significant. It's very, very significant. In the sense that in Islam, one of the institutions put in place for the protection of wealth is zakat institution. Is zakat institution. And this is one of the areas where many Muslims have gotten it wrong, including the Muslim communities in Nigeria. If you read the Quran where Allah talks about zakat, Quran chapter 9, Surah At-Tawbah, verse 60, what does Allah tell us? Innama sadaqatu lil fuqara'i wal masakin wal 'amilina 'alayha. This is what is important for me. Allah says zakat should be dispensed among the needy, the poor. I will come back to that. But most importantly, al-amilina 'alayha, those who are put in charge to dispense it. So we understand even from the Quran that zakat is not something you carry out as an individual. Zakat is not the 50 naira you give to somebody on the roadside. Zakat is not even 20,000 naira you give to a member of your family. It's not zakat. Zakat is an organized institution to empower members of the society, and it is usually done by the state. And that is why some scholars have even argued that zakat can be analogical to taxes that are collected today. Some scholars have made that argument because from the Islamic perspective, zakat is meant to be collected by the state. Why is this so? It is so because there is no way you can solve the problem of poverty in a nation as long as you continue to give stipends and donations to people on the street. But you can only solve the problem of poverty when you have an institution that thrives on an investment or endowment to empower the people. What am I talking about? In Nigeria today, there is no doubt that we have a lot of crises in our educational institution. One of the crises we have in our educational institution today is that the allocation coming from government to institutions are dwindling every day. They are going down every day. But the number of people who want to get educated are increasing every day. So what is the way forward? And here is us saying that don't collect school fees. At least don't collect competitive school fees. Because we are collecting school fees. There is no doubt about that. But is the amount of school fees we are collecting competitive enough to take care of the education of a person in a 4-year studentship? It's not. So what is the way forward? If you go back to Islamic history, you discover that education of the people were funded through zakat funds, and most importantly, waqf. Because outside there are a lot of parents who cannot afford the cost of education. How will they be able to afford the cost of education? How many Nigerians, whether in Ogun State or your state or anywhere in Nigeria, are even collecting the minimum wage? Even with the minimum wage, can you foot the bill of your child if that child were to pay a competitive fee? So it means there must be a provision to take care of people who will not be able to educate themselves, or their parents will not be able to educate them. And this is one of the types of zakat. I give you a very rudimentary example from the Sunnah. And the example I'm going to give is well known if you read the book of Sunnah. A man came to the Prophet ﷺ one day and he was begging. He said, I'm going to give me money. The Prophet ﷺ said, I cannot give you money. What I can give you is that I will give you this axe. Go into the bush, cut firewood, then go and sell. So the axe he gave him is what? Empowerment. The food he needs to survive. So if what people need today is education, then a government must be able to provide that such that those people will be properly equipped. Again, when we talk about the index of good governance from the Islamic perspective, I want to mention this factor. If you look at every point I've made so far, there is nothing I've said that has neglected the importance of justice, or what people call today the rule of law. What I'm saying is that for us to have good governance in Nigeria, for this country to move forward politically, there is a need for all our governmental activities to be guided by the rule of law. Nobody should be above the law, regardless of who that person is. I made a reference to the First Republic in Nigeria before the military came to intervene. If you ask anybody today that is 70, 80 years and above to look at Nigeria at the time of the colonial masters and at the time when we had regional governments and compare with what we have today, almost 80 to 90% of them will tell you we had it better in the past. And one of the reasons why we had it better, in my understanding, is because at that point in time, that you are a politician, that you are a governor, or that you are the president or prime minister of Nigeria, did not put you above any other person. Everybody was equal. In fact, what research has uncovered is that at the time of independence, only 2 people were earning more than professors in the university. Only 2 people were earning more than professors in the university. Formerly the governor general, and later he became the president of Nigeria. He was earning more than a professor in the university. After him, the next person was the chief judge of this country. The next person, because salary was paid by the Civil Service Commission, there is no separation that we have today. The next person was a professor. So we now look back today, we are still deceiving ourselves. We don't know why Nigeria is not getting it right in education. If somebody who has a school cert, somebody who has a primary school certificate is able to make it in government, and that person can be paying the salary of a professor 5 times. And the professor has to go and prostrate before that person to become the special advisor. Then how can that nation move forward? So there is no way the nation can move forward. But in Islam, there is always equality before the law in terms of everything. And I will give you 2 examples. There was a very popular story in the Sirah about Umar bin Khattab. What was this story all about? That Umar came out one day and people saw him in a large, beautiful garment. And somebody got up and challenged him and asked him, how come your garment is as large as this? Because this garment was shared for every citizen in Medina. And what was given to you is not up to this size. So where did you get this double size? Umar said, I will not answer that question. Let my son Abdullah answer the question. And Abdullah said, when my father was trying to use the cloth, I saw that it was not enough for him. So I gave him my own. So it is not because Nigerians have appointed you to lead us, then it means you must first and foremost acquire the wealth of the nation, such that you can travel anywhere in the world to get health care. You can travel anywhere in the world for your children to get education. Whereas the schools in Nigeria are collapsing every day, and hospitals are almost dead clinics. So it means some people are above others, and yet we are in the same nation. So this is one of the reasons why we have this kind of governance that we have had in Nigeria. There are some other areas I've also looked at in terms of good governance from the Islamic perspective. I have mentioned these areas because of the certain thinking in some areas among Muslims. One of the areas I look at is what is called in politics, in government, the secession clause. The secession clause. The reason why I'm raising this point is that we have a lot of Muslims today who believe that governance from Islamic perspective means that the leadership cannot be questioned. The leadership is always right. Whatever your leader does, you must hear and you must obey. Yes, we have that maxim in Islam, but that maxim is conditional. It is conditional. And that is why the Prophet said, La ta'ata li makhluq fi ma'siyati al-khaliq. There is no obedience to a leader who does not first and foremost also obey God the Creator. So you have that limit that has been set in Islam. What am I getting at? You see, one of the clauses some developed nations have put in their constitution that have to a very large extent help them in having good governance is what I call the decision clause. That anytime a group of people is not satisfied with the kind of governance they are getting, then they have the right to say we don't want to be a member of this nation again. You don't know the implication of this. What this means is that if you have this clause in any nation, anybody who wants to rule a united nation will ensure that everybody is adequately taken care of and their welfare is guaranteed. Because they know that in their constitution, if you don't take care of the Yorubas or the Igbos or the Muslims, then they have the right to say, we are going away. And I raise this point. One, coming from the example of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is one of the things we know, but it's usually not emphasized. When you talk about an Islamic state today, there are so many Muslims around us, the like of the Boko Haram, the Shabab, and so on and so forth, who think the way you can establish the idea of an Islamic state is to wage a war against people and force them to come under the caliphate. But when you look at the example of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu, who established what we can today refer to as a modern state with a constitution, he established it without firing any gun. There was no gun that was fired. You remember that as a result of persecution, he left Mecca for Medina. And the moment he got to Medina, we all knew he became the head of state. How many people were killed before he became the head of state? Was any gunfire? None! But what was unique was that when he got to Medina, he was the one who drew up a constitution for the people. And he invited everybody there. Everybody. The Banu Koinaka, the Banu Qurayza, the Banu Nadir, all the Jewish tribes living in Medina, he invited them. the Banu Tusham, all the Arab tribes living in Medina, invited them. And he said, you people have been fighting yourself for years. Because of an ordinary caveman, you went to war for 40 years. The reason why this is happening is because there is nothing binding us together. So we need a document to bind us together. And he gave them that document. It is called Mesak and Medina. Some scholars call it Soifa and Medina, which can be loosely translated as the Constitution of Medina. You see, what is interesting for me here is that he gave everybody the liberty to decide whether they want to be part of a union based on that document or whether they wanted to opt out. And we are told by historians that the three prominent Jewish tribes in Medina that I've mentioned, Banu Qanaqah, Banu Qurayza, and Banu Nadir, said they don't want to be part of the union, but they wanted to be in Medina. And for 6 good months, they were not part of that union until when they saw the good in that arena before they joined. It was when they saw the good in that arrangement that they joined. So we understand from the Islamic perspective that you don't bring what some people have referred to today as a marriage of inconvenience. If any group of people want to live a union, they should have the right. It is now on the others to give them reasons why they should stay. And the only reason you can give is good governance. That's the only reason you can give. If you want to ensure that everybody is part of your government. I don't want to bore us too much. I have quite a lot here, but let me do this. What I'm trying to say so far is that from the Islamic teachings, we can use the ultimate objectives of the Sharia, in particular, the Darura al-Khamsa, to establish good governance in any nation. To be able to do this country or nation must be guided by the principles, I call them twin principles, of justice and ihsan. So by way of ending, I want to say that in any nation where these two are missing, and adli, justice, while ihsan, benevolence, and kindness, then you cannot get good governance. And this is the position of a lot of Muslim scholars. I will cite a reference for Ibn Taymiyyah. If you Google for his name, Ibn Taymiyyah is well known, especially in political treatise. He was an Islamic scholar that lived in the 14th century. And he said that Yukimullahu dawlatan likafira in adila. Allah will always support and sustain a nation that is not a Muslim nation as long as it is built on justice. Wala yukimu dawlatan muslima, and he will never support a Muslim nation once that nation is built on injustice. So we understand that going forward for us as a nation, we must ensure to entrench justice in all our governmental activities. Secondly, exam. You see, if we continue to talk about justice without talking about exam, then at the end of the day, there may be nobody alive. Because justice is not only about rights, it is also about obligations. So that is why we talk about the laws of punishment, for instance. In Islam, we have what is called al-qisas, the law of retaliation. In the Bible, we have what is called an eye for an eye. This is also in the Bible. So if you want to go by justice, what it means is that when a person is strong, when a person has committed a crime, that person should always be punished equal to the crime the person has committed. But Islam also teaches us that as a nation, if we want to move forward, we must have the spirit of forgiveness in terms of what is called ihsan. And I will refer to Quran chapter 41, Surah Fussilat, verse 34 and 35, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَسْتَوِي لِحَسَنَةُ وَلَا سَيِّئَةٌ إِدْفَعْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ فَإِذَا الَّذِي بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَهُ عَدَاوَةٌ كَأَنَّهُ وَلِيٌّ حَمِيمٌ وَلَا يُلَقَّاهَا إِلَّا الَّذِينَ صَبَرُوا وَلَا يُلَقَّاهَا إِلَّا ذُو حَظٍّ عَظِيمٍ. Unless we are ready to adopt this principle and forgive ourselves as a people what has happened in the past in order to get justice for the future, we will never be able to get it right in terms of good governance. Allah says, what is bad and what is good, they are never the same. Repay what is bad with what is good. But it is only then somebody who is your avowed enemy may eventually become your closest friend. But none will be able to achieve this except those who are patient, and none will not be able to achieve this except those who are fortunate. My prayer is that in this month of Ramadan, Allah will grant us the heart to forgive those who have wronged us and give us the spirit to bring everybody together as one people so that our country can move forward. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Takbir. Takbir. Please, can we join the high table in giving the speaker or the lecturer a standing ovation? Takbir. Takbir. I think you all agree with me that Imolola Dini. Imolola Dini. Clearly, thank you very much. I will be seated, please. The chairman of today's program, other distinguished personality at the high table, distinguished member of the audience, I can clearly say here that we have come today, we have listened very carefully, and individually and collectively we have learned a lot. Am I communicating? Because from the spiritual life we've gotten today, apart from being self-explanatory, the speaker gave us what we are expected to know about what good governance is all about, the fundamental indices of good governance, and especially the Quranic and the Hadith backing of what is called the indices of good governance. I'm very sure some of us must have jotted one or two things from this lecture. Let me quickly run through what we have here. I'm not been able to, put everything down, but you know that those of us that were here or that listened very well, we know that at least one or two things are. Firstly, he mentioned religion, sanctity of life, not in that order. We have some scholars that prioritize one before the other. Then two, development of human intellect, posterity, protection of wealth, sarcasm, empowerment, and of course, he concluded it by saying that three fundamentals are very important: justice, benevolence, and kindness. Is that true? Yes, sir. He said, "Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli, abi wa ihsan wa ita'i zil qurba." He mentioned this. I'm sorry, sir. I'm not. I just have to borrow that from you. Takbir. May Allah continue to increase our scholar in knowledge and continue to protect him. Takbir. While the lecture was on, we have distinguished personalities that came in. First among them is the distinguished guest of honor for today. You must have heard about this philanthropic gesture to the university, according to Dr. Odusanya. The distinguished personality is Captain Said Fagbo. Takbir. Takbir. Also, we equally have the guest of honor in our midst, ALHAJI Semiu Makinde, FCA. Takbir. To equally mention that ALHAJI Semiu Makinde is the current bossa of OLABISI ONABANJO University. Of course, a member of the management team of OOUMA. Takbir. Also in our midst is one of the former president of OOUMA. He is ALHAJI ABDULAKEEM Adekola. Takbir. Takbir. Now it is time for question and answer. So we'll be admitting two from our Muslim brothers and two from our mother and sisters. And of course, it's more than that, we seek the indulgence of the chairperson of today to accommodate them. Takbir. Pharmacist Dosmu.
Sisters, please. Sisters. Please, you can put your question down if you're not willing to signify. Our mothers, questions from the side. Okay, we'll take two questions. Number one. Come forward.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. From the little lecture delivered by the professor, it is very obvious that we also mentioned some things about the right to convene. So I want to ask, what is the stand of Islam on protests, and also what is the stand of Islam on democracy and collective governance? Because some people will say there is no need for collective governance in Islam. That Islam vested all power in civil authority, and that democracy is un-Islamic, and also the utilization of governance in Islam can one equate it to a kind of socialist system, sir?
Thank you so much. Number two, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Sir, while you were delivering your lecture, you spoke about the 8 indexes for the measurement of good governance, and I want to pick a salient point, which is you said all faiths are to be treated equally. So here's my question, sir. Given the fact that Nigeria is a secular state, how do you think, or in what way do you think Sharia law will be workable for all and sundry in Nigeria? So that's my first question. The second question I wish to ask is that from the legal framework, sir, and given the fact that most of Nigerian institutions, we adopt this common law in our respective policies of law. So what do do you suggest? Do you suggest that we try to learn Sharia law with common law, or we forgo common law for Sharia law, or we combine both together? So thank you. Thank you.
I guess that's it. Okay. From our mothers. Okay, none is coming from them. Maybe we'll take one more. Okay, please. Now, salam alaikum wa rahmatullah. Well, okay, the guest speaker, sir, I'm very glad you came from Ibadan, Edo State. From what you taught us now, the issue of religion took a very paramount position in the last concluded election in Oyo State. And you told us that you must preserve religion in order to attain good governance. If we continue the way and manner we did it in the Oyo State in the last election, do you think religious will have that status of being protected? Going by what happened, where religions are calling to different parts, that the Muslim must vote for the Muslim and the Christian should vote for the Christian. Going by this, is it not going to create a kind of religious anarchy in the nearest future? Thank you very much. Okay. That's the last one.
Sir, according to your lecture, I understood investment is very key to national development. But how do we then solve the problem of opportunity? That's I, as a Nigerian, for me to get an opportunity. That was my question.
Are you ready, sir? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for these very important questions. I have 6 of them, and I hope I'll be able to answer them all. On the first question, is protest allowed in Islam? There is no doubt that a lot of Muslim scholars do not support protest, and it is believed that it is not allowed in Islam. This, of course, is based on many texts from the Quran as well as the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I will cite a reference that is usually quoted to show that protest is not permissible in Islam. The Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu is required to have said, and I quote, "Man kariha shay'an an amirihi falyasbir." Whoever is disgusted or hates anything about his leader should just be patient. Don't question, don't ask him. And he went on to say, and this for me is the message of the Prophet that people lose. Manchaza, whoever breaks away from the community or from the society, chaza breaks away into hellfire. So whereas people focus on the first part in saying that protest is haram in Islam, I think they missed the message. This hadith has never said protest is allowed in Islam. The correct position is that any protest that leads to the destruction of the society, any protest that leads to arson, treason, is punishable as far as Islam is concerned. I'm sure it is also punishable according to the law of Nigeria. The reason why I'm saying this is that the companions who lived with the Prophet who learned from him, when they appointed one of them as the successor to the Prophet, Abu Bakr, he asked them, if I'm right in my decision as your leader, support me. But if I'm wrong, correct me. They said, we are not only going to correct you, we will correct with our sword. And Abu Bakr said, we are not going to support you as long as you correct me. So to correct leaders is part of Islamic teaching. But to take laws into our hands such that innocent blood is lost is forbidden in Islam. And this is what we see most of the time when people say there is a protest or demonstration. Especially in Nigeria, you see hoodlums hijacking that protest, and before you know it, a lot of destruction takes place. So this is why we need to be very careful. If you want to stage a protest, you must do it in such a way that you can control it from the beginning to the end, such that nobody can hijack it as far as Islam is concerned. He asked a question about democracy. This is a question on which a lot of Islamic scholars have taught, and a lot of Islamic thinkers, they have taught. We have scholars who have said democracy is Arab, is un-Islamic. And in fact, I can tell you that is the view of the majority of Muslim scholars. They say democracy is un-Islamic. And the reason they give why democracy is un-Islamic is that if you take elementary government, you are told that in democracy, sovereignty belongs to the people. You don't understand? Sovereignty, power belongs to the people. But in Islam, what we are told is there is no sovereignty except that of Allah. That is why we say, Allahumma malik al-mulik, disallow people in government. Is the one who removed them in government. You don't understand what I'm saying. So it is on this basis they say democracy is Arab. But these scholars who say democracy is Arab, and I can mention their name, all of them also say that when you live in a secular society, or when you live in a society that is not Islamic, it is permissible for you to participate in democracy. Because that is the system of government that is applicable where you live. And one of the teachings of Islam that people want away from is obedience to the law of the land. You get it now? The scholars who said it is democracy is Arab, they say you can participate in democracy if that is what is going on in your country. Sheikh Ibn Baz gave this fatwa, Al-Albani gave this fatwa, and a host of them who said democracy is un-Islamic. However, there are scholars who say it is not democracy that is un-Islamic. People are missing it. When you talk about democracy, if you are a student of government, democracy has a lot of pillars. One of the pillars of democracy is sovereignty. One of the pillars of democracy is periodic election. One of the pillars of democracy is rule of law. One of the, you can go on listing the pillars of democracy. So you have taken only one item to say that this is Arab, which is not. You should also look at the other items. What we know, even in the Western democracy we are practicing, is that those who conceived democracy wanted power to go to the people. But in reality, in how many countries do people possess the power? In reality, once you elect a few people, they are the one who decide your fate. And it is always difficult for you to even say you want to remove them from office. Because if you look at the process of passing a vote of no confidence in a person, you know it's almost impossible, especially in our own environment. So people do not even have that power you are saying they have. Because if Nigerians had power, let me use this as an example. This government had a very good, beautiful policy. They wanted to stop people buying votes, as has become customary in our elections. Because of that, they brought the Naira design policy. And yet, Nigerians who elected them into office were dying on the streets. Because they could not have access to their money. People took their money to the bank, and now to pay for, I was at UCH, I was at Ago-Iwoye hospital, somebody was on emergency, and they were saying they don't want transfer, you have to put physical cash. In this environment, under the same government, if powers belong to Nigeria, the Nigerian government would have stopped that policy immediately. Nigerians were dying, were suffering from it. So in reality, that is just on paper. But what is happening in reality is that government is not even in the hands of the people. But where I'm going, finally, on this question, is that there are so many pillars of democracy that is not against the teaching of Islam. There are so many pillars of democracy that is not against the teaching of Islam. One of them is periodic election. Why do I say it is not against the pillar of Islam? The Prophet said in an hadith that is authentic, reported by Bukhari and Muslim, Yahumu likawumu, let the people choose their leader. Yahumu likawumu, let the people choose their imam by themselves. And that is why we saw, after the death of the Prophet, the system through which the successors were selected were democratic, if you are talking in terms of election. Look at Abu Bakr, how was he elected? Somebody nominated, in fact, Abu Bakr nominated Umar to be the Caliph after the Prophet. Then Umar said, I don't see your last will qualify. I give you my payer. He said, I give you my payer, my allegiance. Then another person, Abdullah bin Jarrah got up and said, I give you my allegiance. The third person, and before you know it, everybody gave him allegiance. In fact, those who are not there, the following day they were told in the mosque, and they came up to give their allegiance. So their own allegiance was the casting of votes. They elected him by giving allegiance to him. It doesn't mean it has to be through a particular process. The process can be, but he was elected. So we can continue with the debate. Now, Nigeria is a secular state, and how can Sharia be applicable? I want to put a caveat. When people say Nigeria is a secular state, you have to be very careful. If you study secularism, you will know that secularism means different things to different people. There is secularism in Europe. Most countries of Europe are secular states, from Britain, Poland, France. But their secularism is not the same. In Britain today, there are Sharia courts in Britain today. As we are talking now, there are Sharia courts where the Sharia is applicable in Britain today. But in France, there is no Sharia court. In Britain today, you can wear hijab, you can cover your face. You can't do that in France. So secularism means different. There is what we call comprehensive secularism. And only very few countries practice that, like you see in France, like you see in Russia and China. But what is correct is that Nigeria is a multi-religious state. In Nigerian constitution, there is nothing like secularism in Nigerian constitution. In some other countries, you have secularism stipulated in the constitution. It's not in the Nigerian constitution. I don't know how to know. But as of today, there is nothing like secularism in our constitution. What our constitution states is that everybody shall have the right to practice their religion without any interference from government. Some people have interpreted that statement to mean secular state. Others have said it means multi-religious society. But the point I want to make is that the constitution of Nigeria allows the application of the Sharia. It talks about the limits to it, but it allows it. So there is no debate whether the Sharia is allowed in Nigeria or not. What the Constitution states is that every state of the Nigerian Federation shall have the right to establish a Sharia court of appeal. So it is left for those who are at the State House of Assembly to decide whether they want it or not. But the right to have it is in our Constitution. So having the Sharia court is not antithetical to the Nigerian state. I think that is clear. Now, on the fourth question, the brother talks about his faculty of law, that they only teach common law. Okay. I'm sure he's talking about this place, and the same thing I think is also applicable in GIWA. But there are other universities where you have also Department of Sharia. We have it in London, we have it in other parts of Nigeria. Even LASU has Department of Law. So while we continue to work with our Senate to approve a Department of Islamic Law, if you want to read Islamic law, there are places where you can study Islamic law. LASU, Ilorin, and so on and so forth. Yeah, I think because this is from women, I have to answer you because I still have about 3 left. I'm sorry that throughout my lecture I never said anything about women. I'm very sorry. And here is this question. What is the Islamic view about women in governance? Are they completely useless in that aspect? No, they are not completely useless. The first thing we have to get right, and I want us to get this clear, is that in Islam, there is division of labor in Islam. In Islam, the primary obligation of women is to take care of the family. That is the primary obligation of women. It is in the Quran. Quran chapter 4, verse 34, when Allah says, فَصَالِحَاتُ قَانِتَاتُ حَافِظَاتِ لِلْغَيْبِ بِمَا حَفِظَ اللَّهُ. Their primary duty is to guide the household where Allah put them in charge. But that does not mean that they cannot take part in politics or they cannot go out and work. But what it means is 2 things. That is my summary. One, whatever participation a woman is going to play in government or in her professional duty, do not allow our responsibility at home. This is the question of Islam. Our responsibility at home will not come. And I will give an example. Permit me to digress. I will give an example. In 2013, when I was a visiting scholar at the University of California, Santa Barbara, I met a lady. She was sent by me. She was a doctor. If I asked her, it's okay, yeah, you teach? She said, me, I don't teach. I said, what do you mean? What job do you do? She said, I'm in full house. Why? I said, what do you mean? He said, I am fearful of the future of the American society in terms of immorality. Where students are taught in school to be homosexuals, to be transgenders. And I want to stop that. That is why I am teaching my children at home. When they all get to university, then I'll go out and work. If I sell that to a lot of Muslim sisters now, they will say no. But this is Islam. First and foremost, you must take care of your children. Give them the basics so that when they get to the larger society, they are not corrupted. The second condition I want to give is that when they go out to participate in politics, then they must ensure that they are guided by Islamic teachings in respect of women. It is easier to say than done. I'm very frank on this. It's easier to say than done. That today, Nigerian society, men and women, we hold meetings in privacy, do a lot of things that are un-Islamic. Even some women will go without hijab, without anything, and they will say it is allowed to participate in politics. Yes, it is allowed, but we must be governed by Islamic etiquette. Salam alaikum.
We thank guest speaker for those wonderful responses to our questions.
Man up to this occasion, ALHAJI DAUDA GIWA of the Nigerian Custom. Tekbir! Tekbir! Tekbir!
Anyway, the invitation you sent to me, never put donation on it. But not the same. For us to move forward, definitely, we know we'll get to this minutes of the agenda, which there's no way an organization can go forward without financial support. What I am giving is from myself and my family. And this invitation came and it was impromptu. But what I'm giving today is a support. If you have more than that, please don't say because the chairman gave 100 naira, you are giving a please give more than that. The rewards come from Allah. Thank you very much. I will be giving this sum of 100 naira.
Who is next, please?
So we thank the chairman for the beautiful donation. May Allah reward for abundantly. So I think we go to the distinguished guest of honor in person of Alhaji Said.
The chairman of the occasion, our professors there, and everyone sitting down. Once again, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On behalf of my family and I, which I felt any amount one to make of contributing here will be properly utilized and properly used. Because education is something very important, especially for the situation of the world now, and even Africa itself, with the way the Muslim religion is going on. I will start with some amount, and annually I will think of what I will do in also. So let's start with some of 5 million.
Tekbir! Tekbir! Sorry, there's a revision here. Usually every year we used to have our former president of OOUMA, a distinguished one indeed, the person of ALHAJI Professor M.O. Ago-Iwoye, who conducts the donation thing. So we will not want to breach this arrangement. Please, it is very fundamental we observe it.
Ọlọ́run aṣọ wa lẹ́sùn rẹ̀. It's okay. Àti gbowó náà, alájà bí kábíyè. Okay. Let's our Baba is the next person. The Baba that taught us in Osu, Sat. You call him Sat. Now his colleagues call him Sat too. Now so make we too they call him Sat too. I mean, they say the past tense of sit na Sat. This Sat is Sherifin Adewale Teller. Now his colleagues talk about the microphone for Baba.
Tekbir!
Alhamdulillah, it has become an annual ritual for some of us to support the alumni. wanted to support in the board of my support and advice and economic advice that there is need for the Anglican High Foundation which supports students. But unless you also have investment, in which case when you get money you invest it in some analysis that will be yielding some other returns that you can now use, add more to that foundation for the students. So I just want to say that it will also be part of this that we will be using for this kind of thing because not every time you get the amount that you want. And so I'm just advising that as an economist that there will be an investment part of whatever coming as well. Inshallah, I will have my token of 20,000 naira.
So, Baba was a vice-chancellor in one university I will not mention. And somebody was governor of Ogun State. And Baba wrote an article in one newspaper. Now investment, Baba talked that time. Baba go. And Baba is an economist. And he just wrote in the newspaper as an economist. And the governor then read it and said, Shebi they say this man is vice-chancellor of Kiriko. Then let us go there. Now, you will go to Baba Olowo, where the money of this university is. Where you start.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On behalf of the university, I would like to say that although we are managing poverty in this university, but the VC has recently approved that the university donates total sum of 100,000 naira. On my part, there are so many commitments, many shareholders. I will donate 50,000 naira.
Allahu Akbar. A major project of this association is the scholarship scheme. Come on, we established this scheme in year 2004. Okay, I was the chairman of we call it task force on payment of fees, which is internet payment. When you come to the exam, just show your receipts. Once you don't show your receipt, you are sent out of the exam hall. And I was the chairman of that task force. And we go to an exam hall. Yes, bring out your receipt. Those who don't get receipt, you send them out. And Muslim students ran to me. Salam alaikum, salam alaikum. Salam alaikum. Salam alaikum. And I cannot pardon my Muslim brothers and sisters leaving the other. I just say, all of you, enter the exam. Okay. Information go to the then Vice-Chancellor. I think Professor OLABISI showed your day, if I'm correct. And he sent for me. Mr. Man, you say you should raise funds for the university. I know that you are pardoning them. Yes, sir, they are my Muslim brothers and sisters. Okay. The VC then said, if it were to be in the church, we know how to take care of them. So what you are going to do is that there are so many rich people in this state, for instance, go and contact all of them. That was what he told me. And when I came out, I called my brothers and sisters. And that was how we started the scholarship scheme. And it's a major thing. Just last 4 sessions ago, one person, he called me on phone, give me one indigent student. I like to tell you, may God bless him. I gave him one. He said, which course? I said, industrial chemistry. I read PROF. When he share me accounting with, you know, he's an FCA. I look at my list, I don't see accounting student there. Okay, I went to the department. HOD, I need one indigent student. I didn't even say Muslim or Christian. He just said, Nimotani. Ó dẹ̀ mọ̀wé gan ṣùgbọ́n kò rówó school san. Nimotani. You see that? He didn't say Beatrice. He didn't say only Nimotani. And so I gave Nimota. And the other one, to ALHAJI tell Ogunjobi. At the last convocation, Nimotala is sonning at first class in accounting. And the other one also had second class upper in industrial chemistry. The two of them, guess. And ALHAJI tell Ogunjobi just said, sorry, ṣiṣẹ́ mi ẹ̀, mo phone number mi kó pè mí. Ìpè mí, wọ́n ti jọ gbáṣẹ́ fúnra wọn. You know, ALHAJI tell Ogunjobi is FCA. And he has told me again that, okay, méjì yẹn wọ́n ti graduate. Wàá méjì mẹ́wàá. But one of them must be in accounting. Iṣẹ́ mi yẹn, no problem. No problem. So, jọmọ, Ọlọ́run á ràn wá lọ́wọ́. Okay, they say I should call those of us that are former presidents, starting from me. They say I should call all of us.
From the ancestor.
Àwọn alájọpọ̀ wáyé.
I don't know why the Ibadan people are in the way. At least with all the elections conducted. Anyway, I'm an Ijebuma and from Lagos, and Lagos for sure. I will take it. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Although as it is customary, majority of us we have donated to organize and in the course of this. But I will donate additional sum of 50,000 naira.
I copied it. You copied it. Okay, thank you.
So there is no way I can do this now. So since I have the account of the scholarship scheme, I will send whatever I can afford to the account.
Jazakumullah khair.
President of OOUMA, thank you very much.
Okay. People have.
We would love to have your students.
It's okay. It's okay. Inshallah, I will consult the current president. Inshallah, I will consult. I will consult the current president and we'll talk. Go and give mic to Mama, our Mama that we started it together. Elijah. You have seen somebody there. Until bá mi convey bá mi connect with. Bá mi náà bá mi bẹ́ẹ̀ engineer, I'm very sorry. Bá mi wọ́n kàrà rẹ̀ bí wọ́n.
Our daddy will give us 25,000.
Allahu Akbar. University is here. Dr. Wasiu Lawal.
Dr. Abdulwasi Lawal is somewhere there. Yes. Okay.
By the special grace of Almighty Allah, I will get in touch with Professor Osioga. We are together by God's grace.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Ó ti dún bí tó yẹ kó ti dún. Ọlọ́run á sọ ilé sọ̀rọ̀. Ó ti dún, not be fake o. Ó ti dún bí tó yẹ kó ti dún. Ọlọ́run á sọ ilé sọ̀rọ̀.
Is having a group here on mental problem where without wasting time and we are taking 5 copies, 2 to the Muslim community and we are going to take 2 for Muslim adopter and another one for somebody else. Thank you very much, sir.
Like the book the president just mentioned is titled Fit Mind in a Fit Body. Is a must for all. We all know the challenges in our environment. So this is a must that you should have in your library. To get this, it's a token of 2,000 naira. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The OU Muslim community has equally extended a very good gesture to us by donating the sum of 50,000 naira. Takbir! Takbir! That's the Muslim community under the leadership of Professor Ikari Lasu Badamoshi. Takbir! Takbir! And of course, the spiritual leadership of Dr. AKANNI. Takbir! Takbir! That's the chief imam of the Muslim community. Now, it's time for us to go to the next item on the agenda, which is the update on OOU Muslim Alumni Scholarship Scheme.
Dr. Ibrahim Odusoya
is another distinguished scholar of this great university, Dr. Ibrahim Abidemi Odusoya.
Alhamdulillah, the scholarship scheme is a major program of this alumni body, and with the little we'll be able to raise. I think we have attended to the request of some of our students, but the challenge has been that that of paucity of funds, and that cannot will be an issue, particularly going by the prevailing economic challenges, which is also eating hard at the students who find it difficult paying school fees. And in the last 10 sessions, we have been doing the little we can by assisting in paying school fees at the indigent students. And the requirement is very simple. Once you have a CGPA of 3.00, right from 100 level, then you can be part of the scheme. But we have not been able to achieve our targets for each of these sessions, because we usually have a lot of requests, but we don't have to manage requests within the little that we have. But for the donation we have received today, which were paid in the scholarship scheme, inshallah, we'll be able to cover a number of these requests in the coming session, inshallah. And implying that if you are able to have more of such funds, we assure you that we will spend them judiciously. And even from the ones we have done in the past, some have graduated and they are even given back to the scholarship scheme, which is what we are expecting. And the number of these students are increasing. The number is going up on yearly basis, and that is not unexpected because of the present economic challenges. And what we do is we ensure that it goes across all the faculties in the university, so medicine and all other programs. And another thing is that we don't pay fully. What we do is probably pay 75% of the amount, because if you have to pay fully, there are some programs like medicine we have to pay a lot of money compared to courses in agriculture and health. So now, okay, the person, if you are paying 75, look, they are easing the burden of students that have benefited. So do that. And in a particular year, I think about 5 sessions ago, someone gave us single-handedly an loan of 2 million naira. And in that year, I think about 40 students benefited from the scheme. So with what we have today, inshallah, we know we have more beneficiaries. So our request is simple: donate generously to that scheme, and I'm assuring you that we spend the money religiously. And even the person that gave the 2 million naira, when we give the account of the amount, how it was disbursed, detailed phone number of the student, amount given to them, their courses, level, that if you want to confirm, you can do that. The man sent a remark commending the committee in charge of the fund, and even the following year he gave another some amount of money again. So, and for us that are willing to pay into that for that scheme, I will read out the account number. The account name is OLABISI ONABANJO University Muslim Alumni, and the account number is 0124 192786. 0124 192786. Don't we not say we must give something very huge. It's only 1,000, 5,000. By the time we have that for a number of individuals, at least we go a long way in solving challenges of our students financially. So on this note, I want to pray for those who have contributed immensely to this scheme and those that have donated today. I beseech Allah to reward them abundantly. And for those of us that are willing to do, we beseech Allah to provide for us enormous so that we can also be part of this laudable scheme. It's a laudable scheme because if our students are here, they now have to request for leave of absence, and the maximum you can have is two leave of absence throughout your program. So there are people that have applied for the two already at home, but they have no hope. They cannot come and request another one. So eventually they drop out of school, and they are brilliant students. So we must do something to assist them. Thank you.
Takbir. There's a to go to
vote of thanks
to give this our doctor in the making, Sunday Ago-Iwoye, a scholar in the Department of Economics, Faculty of Social Sciences, OLABISI ONABANJO University. Takbir. When you hear about our scholars in various departments in this university, you know what it means. Those of us who are university here know what that means. Takbir. Dr. ABDULAKEEM, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Standing on the existing protocol, on behalf of the OOU Muslim Alumni Association and the organizing committee, we say a big thanks to everybody that has graced this 20th OOU Muslim Alumni Ramadan lecture. Our prayer has always been that may Almighty Allah continue to grant us more of this special day, inshallah. Thank you for coming. Jazakumullahu khairan.
Now it is time for us to invite the distinguished colleague, stars, don't worry, I look at it for example. This is OOUMA, not student unionism. So it is my pleasure to invite or announce to you my doctor. In the end, it's not a criminal offense. Somebody says, with the indulgence of the Vice-Chancellor here, so maybe I should repeat that. With the indulgence of those of us at the table here, I will still give you that title. So, stars, Abdulakheem, a businessman of note, a distinguished politician, if I'm not mistaken, and of course, a father, a responsible father for that matter. So thank you very much. Give us the suspension prayer.
Well, I'm standing on behalf of Master Ismail Adebayo. He's supposed to come and give the suspension prayer, but he was my immediate, he was my predecessor as the vice chairman. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But like today is a glamorous day for us. We are in, we have rainy season of Naira into our post, alhamdulillah. And we thank Allah for giving us the opportunity to observe this sacred month, where we have even the number of where our resources, our gift items shows that people embrace this program. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it for us as an act of ibadah. Allahumma rabbana la tu'akhizna in nasina aw akhtana. Allahumma rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhaban nar. Allahumma rabbana innana sami'na munadiyan alladhina sabaquna bil iman waj'alna minhum muttaqina imama. Allahumma rabbana la tuzigh qulubana ba'da idh hadaytana wa hab lana min ladunka rahmah وعين لنا من أمرنا رشدا. اللهم تقبل صلاتنا وصيامنا وركوعنا وسجودنا وعبادنا وأعمالنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا عدد ما أعطوا به علمك وأصابه خلامك. وارض اللهم عن ساداتنا أبي بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي وعن الصحابة أجمعين وعن التابعين والتابعين بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة وإننا منا رشدا. اللهم ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا إماما. سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله رب العرش العظيم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. ما فيش شيء ما.
Sorry, before we leave, we want to quickly appreciate every one of you for coming today, especially the Chief Security Officer of Alumni University, our own Abdulakeen AGBOOLA, Engineer Alibiyoshu, we appreciate you, and of course, other distinguished personality here present. The distinguished personality at the table, Professor Lasso, Madam Moji, you are most welcome. Thank you very much for appreciating.